Alright, there's another one of those Western people doing Western stuff moments. This was too ridiculous, and I'm frankly baffled. So here's the news. A Shadyside resident and Payton City native who had been detained in Russia on suspicion of drug smuggling has been released and is on his way back to the United States, according to his family. Russian news agencies said that Caleb Wayne Byers, 28, was detained at Moscow's Vnukovo airport after flying in from Istanbul on February 7th. The news agency said that airport authorities found CBD gummies and cannabis laced marmalade in his luggage. Those drugs, along with the melatonin and vitamin C gummies, are to help with the severe epileptic seizures that Byers deals with, according to his mother, Tanya Schuler. Now, you're going to Russia. Can't you look up its drug laws? I understand that to the majority of Westerners, marijuana is not a drug, but we're talking about a country where gay people are illegal at the moment. On the other hand, I shouldn't expect many research capabilities from a person who proudly waves a Soviet flag. Alright, Schuler said her son, who works at WVU Medicine Reynolds Memorial Hospital, was visiting Russia with his fiancée, a Russian woman he met when she was in the United States as a foreign exchange student. They had entered the country to finalize the paperwork for their marriage, and while at the airport, the security dog alerted airport authorities to Byers' luggage. That's not a good boy. That is not a good boy. Why would they need to go to Russia to do anything in the first place? Couldn't they get married in the US? I mean, there's a war on. We still remember that, right? So when you go to Russia, whenever you go to Russia, you don't just stand there the whole time and do nothing. You book a hotel, that's money. You get hungry and buy something to eat, that's money. And all that money goes to the Russian economy, the economy that currently accommodates only one thing: war. By spending money in Russia, you contribute to its warmongering. You sponsor the bombs that drop on Ukrainian towns, including Kryvyi Rih, the city where my relatives live. And I don't like that. Schuller said that during the 8 days of detainment, he had not been receiving his medication and had suffered several grand mal seizures. Now that's serious because epilepsy is a tricky condition in the sense that a seizure can happen to you anytime, and you frequently feel powerless to stop it, which causes you great distress, contributes to depression, and generally worsens your quality of life. Some might argue that it's living with the knowledge that you might have a seizure out of the blue any day. It's that is the worst part of having epilepsy. In Russia, epilepsy is almost exclusively treated with carbamazepine, and you need to have a prescription for it. Carbamazepine is unstable, which means half the time you're gonna end up having seizures anyway, even if you take it regularly. Cannabis is more efficient in this regard because it actually controls the seizures. It prevents them from happening. And I guess this is precisely why it's not used for medical purposes in Russia. If something works well, nah, fuck it. Nothing's supposed to work well in Russia because people with better health and better standard of living might start getting opinions. It'll be harder to stick them in the meat grinder in the neighboring country. On a slightly relevant note, I remember there was an activist in our town who got beat up so hard in a police van that he started having a seizure, an epileptic seizure for the first time in his life. And that came as a huge surprise to everyone, including him. Well, I hope the police at least stopped kicking him after that. So yeah, my point is that epilepsy is a bitch to deal with. If you've ever witnessed a person have a full-blown tonic-clonic seizure, you know that there's a whole technique you need to put into place to guide the patient through it. You have to roll them onto their side. Left side is preferable in my experience. You have to put a piece of rolled up cloth into their mouth to prevent them from biting their tongue. You have to put something soft under their head, etc., etc. And most importantly, an epilepsy patient undergoing a seizure needs constant supervision. And now imagine how it all would go in a pretrial detention cell. You ever been in pretrial detention? Me neither. I know people who have, and longer than 8 days. Nobody gives a fuck about you in there. You can't even get freaking sanitary pads if your menstruation suddenly starts while you're in there. Have not been receiving his medication. Get out of here. So what have we learned from this story? Don't go to Russia. That's all. As for his fiancée, nobody knows what happened to her apparently. I have no understanding how she couldn't warn the guy not to take his usual medication this one time and replace it with carbamazepine pills, for example. But sometimes I'm surprised at how little Russian citizens themselves know about the repressive mechanisms of their own country. Hell, I had to explain the meaning behind Article 51 of the Russian Constitution to an alarmingly large number of people. It's like explaining to someone that you need a gun before entering the shooting range and then go, I do? Never thought of that. Yeah, motherfucker, you do. Okay, yeah, that's it, I guess.